Well, with Bitcoin moving up previously, we have had MSTY moving up, but Bitcoin seems to be trading sideways. So we're seeing a little bit of that on MSTY, but we did earn some nice distributions on MSTY and a few others of those high yield ETFs. So we're going to update my spreadsheet, talk a little bit about MSTY, and just get a feel of where I currently stand on those high yield ETFs. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So, as you can see, we're looking at MSTY right now, and it looks like it is trying to somewhat trade sideways. We were having a nice little move up, and it is somewhat trading sideways now, and that is mostly just because if we take a look at MSTR or strategy, it too has hit a bit of a wall. And we have that resistance wall at around that 179, 180 area. And MSTR currently is at 171. It has come down because it did hit this line of around that 179 area and got rejected. And why did that happen? Well, MSTR moves as Bitcoin moves. And if we take a look at Bitcoin right here, you can see it has been moving up. And that's why MSTR and MSTY have been moving up, but we are somewhat trading sideways currently with a little bit of a pop-up today, and this is the weekend, so that is not going to be reflective in the MSTY or MSTR chart because those are only through the weekdays. And we're currently sitting at this 78 even, and I had drawn this line of around 77.7K for Bitcoin. And as you can see, it has been teetering back and forth on this line. We are currently up above it, but we have not broke past that 77.7K. So therefore, we are still just kind of trading sideways, hanging around this 77.7K. Now, if we can eventually get up above it and then use this 77.7 as a support line, now that would be something we would want to see, because if it can use that as a support line, it can hopefully bounce off of it and start moving back up into the 80K. And if we start seeing that, then we're going to start seeing MSTR right here break above this 179 to 180 line that we're showing as a resistance line. And if Bitcoin can move up, therefore MSTR is going to start moving up. And we all know when MSTR moves up, so will MSTY. And that's what we want to see. We'd love to see MSTY get back up to 28, 29, and heck, even $30 per share. That would not be too bad at all. But with this move up on MSTY, they did pay out a very nice distribution this week. And as you can see, the previous week was 30 cents, but this week was 52 cents. A very nice distribution, as that's not too bad for a week, right? Now, before we go over and update the spreadsheet, let's take a look at AMDY. And here we are on AMDY. This thing has been on fire, right? Well, is it really AMDY that's on fire, or is it actually the underlying? Well, you guessed it, it's the underlying, right? And if I take a look at AMD, you can see right there, look at this. This thing has just been on fire. We were sitting around this 200 to 190, 180 area, and now we're sitting at $347. It moved 13, almost 14% just on Friday alone. Look at this jump up right there. That's insane. Now, normally we would not see a pop-up like this on AMDY, right? It would only move up slightly as it would not gain all of that movement of the stock itself. Now, check this out. This pop-up on AMD looks very similar to the one on AMD. And we'll flip it over to AMD and look at this. Look at that pop-up. That's insane. It went up 12.3%. Now, I have never seen these high yield ETFs move up like this. It has always been like 3-4% or something like that if you had a huge move on the underlying. But this one here jumped up $5 on that price, as it closed on Thursday around $40.27 and then closed on Friday at $45.25. What a heck of a move, right? And because of this move up, what do you think that distribution was? Well, the week before, that distribution was quite nice at 69 cents because the week before was about 49 cents. So it has been moving up, right? 32 to 49 to 69. Well, since it has been continually to move up, I would think that that distribution also has increased. And what did it increase to? Well, it increased from that 69 cents up to 86 cents for AMDY. Nice. That is a great distribution on AMDY. Super excited about that one. But I will say there are several of these high yield ETFs that are going to be paying out a very nice distribution this week. And speaking of distributions, let's go ahead and jump right over into that spreadsheet. Let's get that thing updated, enter in those distributions, and find out where I currently sit on my real price per share for each of the high yield ETFs that I do own. And here we are on my high yield stock tracker sheet. And this sheet is available to all my Discord members, along with my options tracker. Both those sheets can be found in my Discord. And if you join my Discord, then you get access to both of these sheets where you can then make a copy of it and track your own ETFs that you do have. And the benefit to that is so that you can track that real price per share. And that's this number right here. Now you can see I am down in CONY, ULTY, and SMCY, along with one more over here, YieldMax. Those are the ones that I am currently down on, but the rest of these, I just keep scrolling over and you can see the rest of them I am green on. And how much am I green on or down on is this row right here. You can see it gives that percentage that I'm up on each of these plays or how much I am down on that particular play. And we just scroll right on through. But overall, if I were to sell out of all of these positions at the current market price, I would clear $19,554 from the point that I started getting into these high yield ETFs. So that's a nice little chunk of money. But of course, I'm not selling these. I am trying to get these paid off so that all of those distributions coming in is just free and clear money going straight into my account. And that's fresh powder that I can use to buy other stocks or ETFs or even increase the quantity of shares that I have in these high yield ETFs. That gives me the freedom to do whatever I want with that money. But if you'd like to get a copy of this sheet, check the link down in the pinned comments and in the description below where you can get a copy of this and really fully understand where you currently sit in your positions of your high yield ETFs. But let's just go ahead and let's update my sheet here with those distributions. And let's just find out where I currently sit on my real price per share. And that's this row down here. As that changes, so will my total loss and gains up here, as I'm currently sitting at 19,554. And once I enter in those distributions, that will adjust and we'll find out where I currently sit. So let's just go ahead and get started, and we'll start right off with CONY. So to get to the individual sheet of each one of these high yield ETF tickers, you just hover right over that ticker symbol. You'll get a little pop-up right there, and that's a link straight to that individual sheet where you'll enter in your distributions that you did enter, and you can also enter in any shares that you did purchase or sell. So we just hover over the ticker, click the link, and we go straight to that sheet. So that makes it nice, quick, and easy so that you can fill the sheet out quickly and move about your day. Now, to help speed the video up, I did go ahead and enter in all those distributions for each one of the ones that I do have, but I will enter in the number of shares as we go through this video, as that will adjust and change this real price per share, and we'll find out where I currently sit and how much I am down or up in each of the positions, and then find out what that total value is at the end. So for CONY, I have 175 shares. So we'll enter in that, and that is going to adjust that real price per share of $38.57, and it's going to drop it down to $38.15. So if I were to sell all my shares of CONY at the current price, I would take a loss of $1,741. Now, it's kind of rough to start right off with a loss, right? But you'll see as we go through all of these, I am making more than I am losing on these positions. Now, I'm hoping that Bitcoin can start moving back up, because if Bitcoin moves up, I really truly believe that's going to push Coinbase up, which that is the underlying for CONY. And if Coinbase can move back up, so will CONY. And I believe that that is what's going to help get that current price back up to close to around 38 bucks. And as I'm earning those distributions, I'm lowering that real price per share, which just helps to narrow that gap between that current price and that real price per share, which is my current average price per share, including my distributions. Next, we have PLTY. Now, PLTY is paid off, and that means that I have earned more in distributions than what I have invested into PLTY. So therefore, it shows it as a green negative $4.80. So when I enter in that distribution amount, it's going to change that real price per share. And I have 37 shares. So that real price per share of minus $4.80 will adjust to minus $5.18, because we earned 38 cents on that distribution this week. So if I were to sell all my shares of PLTY at the current price of $36.11, I'm going to make $1,527. So right there almost already covers the loss on CONY. But we're not done yet. So let's move on to the next one, and we have NVDY. Now NVDY, we earned 14 cents this week, which is up from the past few weeks, right? And that's a nice distribution on NVDY. And I have a total of 71 shares. So that real price per share of $10.60 is going to drop to $10.46. Now with that current price of $14.13, that means if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would make 260 bucks. For ULTY, we earned 43 cents this week in that distribution, and I have 56 shares. So that real price per share of $32.27, which is slightly above the current price of $32.07. And that means that I am currently at a loss, right, of $11.16. But once I enter in this distribution, that's going to adjust that real price per share, and we'll see what it does at that point. So I have 56 shares, and that is going to adjust that real price per share of $32.27 down to $31.83. And yes, I have finally broke down below the current price of ULTY, because the current price of ULTY is $32.07 and my real price per share is now $31.83. So I am indeed under it. So instead of that loss of $11 and some odd cents, I am now up $13.34. Now, I am right there on the line. So if ULTY does drop back down some, then yes, it could indeed get below my real price per share and actually flip this back to a loss. But keep in mind that next week, I will also earn a distribution. And if I can earn another 30 to 40 cents, that's just going to help to lower this real price per share, in hopes that the price itself of ULTY does not drop more than that amount. If that's the case, I can actually start hopefully increasing that gap between my real price per share and the current price of ULTY. and that just gives me some downside protection. So when ULTY does drop a little bit, I'm lower in my real price per share than the price of ULTY. Therefore, I can keep this one green. So we'll find out what it does, and we'll see if it can continue. So moving on, we have MSTY. And MSTY is another one that I do have paid off, meaning that I have earned more in distributions and premium than what I had invested. Therefore, it shows it as a paid off status. So all my distributions I do earn from this point out are indeed free and clear. And we did get a nice little pay raise this week from roughly about 30 cents up to 52 cents this week. Very nice. And I have a total of 95 shares. And that's going to help lower that real price per share from minus $10.46 down to minus $10.99. So therefore, if I were to sell all my shares of MSTY at that current price of $25.95, which is a nice move up on the current price of MSTY, that's going to gain me $3,508 if I were to sell all 95 shares at that current price. So super excited of that move on MSTY, and I hope it just continues, right? For SMCY, we earned 7 cents, and I have a total of 325 shares. So my real price per share of $6.67 will drop down to $6.59. And therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would take a loss of $153. Next, we have AMDY. Now, AMDY is the one we had talked about earlier, and that is the one where we did get that nice pay raise this week in that distribution, as we earned 69 cents last week, which was an awesome amount for a distribution, but it got bumped up to 86 cents this week. That is super nice. Love to see it. And I have a total of 164 shares. So let's enter that in right here at the share count, and let's find out what that lowers that real price per share down to, as it's currently at $25.87, and it will lower it down to $25 even. So if I were to sell all my shares of AMDY at the current price, which is an awesome move up on AMDY as well, that's going to give me a gain of $3,321. Super excited about the move on AMDY. And for YMAX, we earned 9 cents, and I have a total of 758 shares. So that's going to lower my real price per share of $6.51 down to $6.41. So no matter what the price of YMAX does, I am increasing that gap between the two. So therefore, that gives me that downside protection. But if I were to sell all these shares at the current price of YMAX of $8.57, that's going to gain me $1,634. Not too shabby. For HUI. Now, HUI I am down on, right? Remember, that one was red because my real price per share is $41.46, and the current price of HUI is $31.35. Now, I have a total of 116 shares, so that nice little increase in pay from last week of 43 cents up to 68 cents is only going to help me to lower that real price per share down. So that $41.46 real price per share is going to drop down to $40.78. Now, it is still indeed above the current price of HUI, so therefore it is still at a loss. But anytime that I can lower my real price per share down, I'm going to only help myself out. And if I did buy shares of HUI, then that's also going to help to lower that real price per share down as well. But at the current price, if I were to sell all my shares of HUI, I would take a loss of about $1,000. So not too shabby, considering HUI is down due to the fact that Bitcoin has not yet been able to break above and stay above that 77.7K. For QDTE, we earned 16 cents. Now that's a nice jump up from the 9 cents of last week. So I'll take that, and I have 155 shares. So I'll enter that in here, and that's going to adjust my real price per share of $21.02 down to $20.86, which also increases that potential amount of gains to $1,427. And that's if I did sell all my shares of QDTE. But as I've stated before, I'm not selling my shares. I'm looking to get these things paid off so that those distributions come in as free and new available fresh powder for me to use to buy more stocks or shares of whatever I want to buy. For IWMY, we earned 11 cents and I have 551 shares. So that's going to lower my real price per share of $14.44 down to $14.33. So if I were to sell all my shares of IWMY at the current price of $19.48, I would make $2,840. For QQQY, we got a little bump up here from 12 up to 13 cents, and I have 551 shares. So therefore, my real price per share of $18.73 will drop down to $18.59, and therefore increasing that potential gains up to $2,454 if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of QQQY. For WDTE, we earned 17 cents and I have 540 shares. So that's going to lower that real price per share of $24.42 down to $24.25, and therefore increasing that potential gains if I were to sell all my shares of WDTE at the current price up to $3,295. And next we have JEPQ. Now JEPQ is a monthly payer, and therefore I do not have a distribution to enter in for this one. So therefore my real price per share of $9.13 still stands. And if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, then I would make $2,742. And last but not least is Divo. And Divo is also a monthly payer, and I do not have a distribution to enter in for this month yet, as it doesn't pay out until the end of the month. So my real price per share does still stand at $44.55. And since that is indeed under the current price, that means if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would make 15 bucks. And that wraps up all of these high yield ETFs that I do have. And that updates all those distributions as well. So now let's go right back to my summary page, find out where I currently stand, what it increased to as far as in the potential gains, and if any of the ETFs that I had flip from red to green. And to get back to that summary page, it's pretty simple. On each of those individual sheets, you have this back to summary button right here. Hover over it, click the link, and it takes you right back to that summary page. And lo and behold, look at here. ULTY was red and it is now green. Not by much, but I'll take it. It is indeed green. And that did up my total gains to $20,300. Love it, right? Super excited. So I'm still down on CONY, but since I did earn that distribution, it did help to lower the percentage amount that I was down by. The same for SMCY and WHY, as those are still down. But everything else, as you can see, is green. So now I am down to only 3 of them being red, with ULTY very, very close to going either way, right? It's only a 0.5% in the green. But if ULTY can continue to move up, that's only going to help increase that distance between my real price per share and that market price. And that is what I want to see. So if you'd like to get a copy of this sheet, come on over, join the Discord. The link will be down in the pinned comments and in the description below, as I really believe that you need to be able to know exactly where you currently set, and that is this adjusted price per share, or the real price per share, which is what I like to call it. Because if you don't know this number, how do you really understand and know where you currently set on each of your positions? So get a copy of this sheet, enter in your own ETFs that you do have, track those distributions, and have it help you to calculate and be able to manage each of those simply by looking at this one single sheet of this summary page, as it just makes it nice, quick, and easy to see where you currently set in each of your high yield ETFs. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.